The story begins with 8 candidates who have reached the final stage of an interview for the highest position at a powerful corporation called Org. All of them are highly qualified and extremely excited. After arriving, they're escorted into an examination hall. Inside the room, there are 8 chairs, and on each chair lies a question paper labeled only with a candidate number. A guard is standing at the door, watching closely. Soon, an examiner enters the room and says, "Many high-profile candidates like you have tried to reach this position, and all of them failed, so listen very carefully. This exam has only 3 rules, and they are our rules. First, you must not damage your question paper in any way. Second, you are not allowed to leave this room under any circumstances, or you'll be disqualified. And third, if you try to speak to me or the guard, you will be disqualified immediately. There is only one question in this exam, and you have 80 minutes to find the answer." With that, the examiner starts the timer and leaves. The candidates immediately check their papers, but they're shocked. There's nothing written on them. No question, no instructions, just their candidate numbers. They can't understand how they're supposed to answer a question that doesn't even exist. Candidate number 2 panics and starts writing something on her paper. The moment she does, the guard steps in, grabs her, and throws her out of the room. Now the remaining 7 candidates understand one thing clearly. They cannot write anything on the paper. Candidate number 5 speaks up and says, "The examiner said we can't talk to him or the guard, but he never said we can't talk to each other. To stay anonymous, let's give each other nicknames instead of using real identities." He assigns names based on hair and skin color: black, white, dark, brown, blonde, and brunette. Candidate number 1 stays completely silent and doesn't respond to anyone, so White gives him the nickname Deaf. Brunette suggests, "What if the question is written on the paper in invisible ink, something we can't see?" Everyone holds their paper up to the light, trying to find something hidden, but there's nothing. Blonde says, "Maybe light isn't the answer. What if rubbing a pencil over the paper reveals the question?" But Black immediately stops her. "If you do that, you'll damage the paper and get disqualified." Just like candidate number 2, Black then says, "I think there are hidden ultraviolet, infrared, or X-ray lights in this room." They notice faint lights inside the cracks of the walls, but there's no visible switch, and they're not allowed to leave the room to look for one. Black realizes those are emergency lights, so he does something extreme. He breaks all the main lights in the room. As soon as the room goes dark, blue emergency lights inside the cracks automatically turn on. The candidates rush to check their papers again, but still, nothing. White says, "This isn't working. We should stop destroying things and try another approach," but Brown disagrees. "No, we have to keep going. If we stop now, we'll never figure this out. I'm sure we're close." Black breaks open one of the light panels and finds red glass inside. That's when he realizes there are multiple layers of light. Maybe infrared or another wavelength is hidden inside. Maybe this paper is photosensitive. It only reacts when exposed to a very specific type of light. They break the blue lights, revealing red light underneath. But even after all this, the paper still shows no question. White suddenly says, "What if we experiment on candidate number 2's paper? The rule said we can't damage our own papers. It never said we can't destroy someone else's." He tears candidate number 2's paper into pieces and rubs a pencil over it, hoping a hidden question will appear. Nothing happens. Then in desperation, White even pours liquid on the paper, but still, nothing shows up. Suddenly, Deaf starts crying and begins speaking in French. Only Dark understands French. She translates. Stunned, he says he can see his own reflection inside the paper. White loses his temper and starts yelling at Deaf, accusing him of lying. But in that moment, the tension in the room shifts, because maybe the paper was never meant to show a written question at all. Brown finally speaks up. "I don't think this is an exam at all. Look around, 4 men and 4 women, all from different cultures, different backgrounds, and every single one of us has a specific skill. This feels like a game, and I think the company's board members are betting on us. If I'm right, they're watching us right now. Most of the people on the board are probably born rich. They're tired of making money. Now they just want entertainment, something to kill time. So they sit on the board, lure people with high-paying jobs, lock them in rooms like this, and enjoy the show." Brunette disagrees. "How can you be so sure? It's possible that only the examiner is watching us, and that there really is a hidden question." Brown is confident enough to bet on it. He's convinced the board members are watching. Dark steps in and says, "I'm pretty sure you're a gambler." Brown smirks, "And I'm pretty sure you're a psychiatrist." Dark immediately corrects him. "I'm not a psychiatrist. I've only studied human behavior, and you're wrong. The board members aren't watching us. We're not ordinary candidates. The CEO personally arranged all of this to select someone specific. If anyone besides the examiner is watching us, it's the CEO, because he never lets anyone else be involved in the company's most critical decisions." Brown challenges her. "How do you know the CEO so well? Don't tell me you're just guessing, because guesses don't mean anything here." Dark explains calmly. "Before applying for this job, I researched Org Corporation. That's why I know these things. But that doesn't mean I know the CEO CEO personally. Everyone realizes something disturbing. Except for Dark, none of them had researched the company at all. The salary and benefits were so tempting that they applied without thinking. Now paranoia spreads. They begin suspecting that someone in the room might be working for the company. Dark then drops a major clue. 10 years ago, wealthy people across the world started getting sick and dying. A medical researcher developed a vaccine. Within 6 months, death rates dropped dramatically. Today, that researcher's company dominates the global health industry, worth over $20 billion. Everyone understands immediately. She's talking about Bjorg. Brown responds, "I agree. Bjorg did an incredible job with the vaccine, but they never cured the virus completely. And a year ago, they stopped hiring new employees. So why would they suddenly need us now?" Dark answers, "Publicly, Bjorg said they stopped hiring, but internally, the company has been expanding. And to grow a business like that, you need people." Black adds, "If I'm not mistaken, Bjorg may have already found the cure, and now they're preparing for mass production." Brunette has been unusually quiet this whole time. White starts getting suspicious. "Why are you here? Are you infected? Or is someone you love infected?" At first, Brunette refuses to answer, but after being pressed, she finally admits, "My partner is infected. I need money to save him. If I can somehow speak to the CEO, I know I can save him." Blonde asks nervously, "Do you really think the CEO is standing behind these walls watching us?" Dark replies, "The CEO has lived behind walls for years. He hates publicity. Even the board members haven't seen him in a long time. And whenever he needs an assistant, he finds one through exams like this." Suddenly, Brunette walks up to the guard and reaches into his pocket. Black tries to stop her, but it's too late. Brunette pulls out a lighter from the guard's pocket, and at that moment, everyone realizes this game just became far more dangerous. Black says, "If you're thinking of using the water sprinklers to find the question, it won't work. White already tried that. He even poured liquid on the paper." Brunette replies, "The sprinklers don't have to spray water. Any liquid can flow through them. If the right substance comes out, it might reveal the question." She lights the lighter and tries to trigger the fire alarm, but her hand can't reach the sensor. So White hands her a paper and tells her to burn it. The other candidates assume it's candidate number 2's paper, so no one stops her. Brunette burns the paper. The fire alarm goes off and the sprinklers activate. Water rains down from the ceiling, but even then, no question appears. Suddenly, Brunette realizes her own paper is missing. She understands the truth. White tricked her into destroying her own paper. Furious, she starts yelling at White, but before she can do anything else, the guard grabs her and throws her out of the room. Black completely loses his temper and starts screaming at White. In the middle of the chaos, Black suddenly shouts, "Lights out." Instantly, all the lights in the room shut off. No one understands what just happened, but Brown figures it out. He shouts, "Lights on," and just like that, the lights come back. At that moment, Def starts crying again. White, already furious, snaps. He intimidates Def and forces him to tear his own paper. The guard immediately drags Def out of the room. Black explodes. "What are you doing? We agreed we'd work together. Why are you destroying papers and getting people disqualified?" White coldly replies, "Eliminating other candidates isn't against the rules. If I want to pass this exam, I have to do this. And by the way, I already know what the question is, but I'm not telling you." That's the final straw. Black punches White hard, knocking him unconscious. He ties White to a chair using his tie. Black and Dark both argue that White should be thrown out of the room, but Brown and Blonde stop them. The examiner said candidates can leave on their own, they argue. If you force White out without his consent, you'll be disqualified. Not wanting to risk it, Black and Dark leave White tied inside the room. After a while, White regains consciousness. Brown tries to force his mouth open, but Black stops him. Then Dark steps in and opens White's mouth herself. White gasps and says, "I didn't tell you before, but I'm infected with the virus. I need to take an antidote pill every hour." Black checks White's pockets, but there's no pill. White panics. "One of you stole it. This isn't a joke. If I don't get that pill, I'll die." Black replies coldly, "You won't die immediately. First you'll pass out, then you'll have seizures, then coma, and finally death. But if you tell us the question, I'll untie you. You can leave the room and save yourself." Before White can answer, he passes out again. Dark says quietly, "If I'm not wrong, Bjorg designed this exam so that eventually we'd all turn against each other. Only one person is meant to pass." Brown stares at her and says, "I don't think White is smart enough to figure out the question, but you are. You played innocent while using White as a pawn to eliminate candidates, and you know far too much about Bjorg." Dark snaps back, "That's nonsense. I don't know the question. I'm just trying to pass, same as everyone else." Brown continues, "I've studied psychology too. You manipulated everyone and hid behind White." Blonde steps in, trying to calm things down. "If someone from Bjorg is really among us, it could be anyone. If we don't trust each other, none of us will pass." But Brown ignores her. He uses his belt to tie Dark's hands. Dark pleads for help from Black and Blonde, but no one steps forward. Brown demands, "Now tell us everything you've been hiding. What else do you know about Bayerg?" Dark finally breaks, "Yes, I work for Bayerg, but they didn't send me here. I applied just like all of you. I work in HR, but I have no connection to the CEO. I don't even know him. He hires his staff personally. That's all I know. There's nothing else." And in that moment, the room falls silent, because now no one knows who to trust and who the real enemy is. Brown suddenly cuts his own finger with the edge of the paper and says coldly, "We all know paper can be used as a weapon. Now I'm going to use it to torture you. And if you don't tell me the truth, I won't stop." Blonde asks nervously, "Have you ever tortured someone before?" Brown answers without hesitation, "I've tortured plenty of criminals during my service to extract the truth. This is nothing new for me." Everyone is stunned. Blonde says, "We thought you were a gambler. How were you in the service?" Brown smirks, "You don't know this, but every soldier is a gambler." As he says this, Brown presses the paper against Dark's thigh, but then he freezes. Her thigh is already covered in multiple scars. Everyone is shocked. Dark breaks down and starts crying. Brown says coldly, "I didn't expect this, but it looks like you torture yourself regularly. Maybe your father never loved you and this is how you punish yourself. Either way, I don't care. Now tell me the question or I'll blind you." He pushes the paper toward Dark's eye. Dark completely breaks down, crying uncontrollably. Seeing her like this, Black snaps and rushes toward Brown to stop him, but Brown knocks him down with a single move. He growls, "I didn't interfere between you and White, so stay out of my business." Black realizes immediately he can't overpower Brown. Terrified, Dark cries and says, "I'm telling the truth. Everything I knew I already told you. I don't know anything else about this exam or the company." From her fear, Brown understands she's not lying. He backs off. Blonde quickly unties Dark's hands. Suddenly, White starts having violent seizures. His body shakes uncontrollably. Blonde asks Black, "Is he pretending?" Black shakes his head. "No, he's not faking it. My wife was infected with the virus too. She had the same seizures. She went into a coma, and then she died. We need to find that pill right now, or he won't survive." They search White's pockets. No pill. The candidates search each other, still nothing. Then Dark checks under Brown's table, and there it is, the pill. Brown had taken it from White's pocket while he was unconscious, and hidden it underneath using chewing gum. Dark tries to give White the pill, but Brown stops her. He says coldly, "Before dying, he'll go into a coma. I've seen people come back from comas, so there's no need to give him the pill. If he survives, he'll disqualify one of us again." Dark fights back, trying to force the pill into White's mouth, but Brown knocks it away. The pill falls into the drain. No matter how hard they try, they can't get it back. Suddenly, White stops shaking. Blood starts dripping from his nose. Black realizes the truth. If he doesn't get treatment now, he'll die before even reaching a coma. Desperate, Dark runs toward the camera and begs the examiner for help. By doing that, she breaks the rules. The guard immediately grabs her and throws her out of the room. At that exact moment, Blonde uses her hairpin to pull the pill out of the drain. She rushes to White and gives him the pill. Within seconds, White regains consciousness. He's breathing normally. He's alive. And now everyone understands this exam isn't testing intelligence anymore. It's testing how far a human being is willing to go to survive. White turns to Brown and says coldly, "You hid my pill and tried to kill me. I'll never forget that. If I get this job, you won't survive." Brown fires back, "You promised we'd find the answer together, but once you figured it out, you betrayed all of us and refused to share anything. That's why I hid the pill." White shakes his head in disbelief. "I can't believe that after everything we've been through, you still don't understand. There is no question in this exam. Bayerg will hire the candidate who is the last one left alone in this room when the 80 minutes are over." Saying this, White lunges toward the guard, trying to grab his gun. Black reacts instantly and knocks White away, grabbing the gun himself. In panic, Black tries to shoot White, but the gun doesn't fire. White slams a pencil into Black's shoulder, takes the gun, and knocks Brown to the floor when he tries to stop him. White quickly realizes the truth. The gun has a fingerprint trigger. Without the guard, it won't work. So White forces the gun back into the guard's hand and orders everyone to leave the room. Brown, terrified of dying, quietly walks out. Before leaving, Blonde shuts off the lights. Black tries to take cover, but White fires, hitting him in the chest. Black collapses, unconscious. Blonde has one foot on the doorway. White raises the gun to shoot her, but before he can pull the trigger, time's up. White rushes to the camera and says confidently, "You saw it yourself. Blonde didn't even try to solve the exam. She's useless to you. Hire me." At that moment, the guard stops him and shows him the watch. There were still a few seconds left. White spoke to the examiner before the exam ended. He broke the rules. As the timer hits 0, a shadow appears behind the glass, proving that the board members were never watching. White panics and tries to kill himself, but the fingerprint trigger stops him. The guard drags White out of the room. Now only Blonde remains. She finds Def's glasses. Placing a shard of glass on the paper, she looks through the glasses and finally sees the words, "Question 1. She realizes the truth. That was the question all along. Def suddenly walks in. Blonde understands everything now. During the fire alarm, Def secretly added extra seconds to the timer. Def is the CEO of Bayerg. Blonde hands him the glasses and the paper and says calmly, "There is no answer to your question. The examiner smiles. I'm glad you finally understood. Now we can work together. Blonde replies, I haven't agreed to anything yet. Not until I know everything about the CEO. The examiner explains, the CEO isn't a businessman. He's a scientist and an inventor. He hates fame and publicity. Blonde asks sharply, would the CEO let someone die just to protect his identity, like Black? The bullet White fired contained the virus antidote and an organ regeneration formula. Blonde checks Black's wound. It's completely healed. Slowly, Black regains consciousness. The examiner continues, while searching for a cure to the virus, we discovered rapid cell regeneration. If the world learned about this formula, both good and evil people would try to use it. That's why the CEO designed this exam, to find the right assistant who would protect the formula and use it responsibly. Seeing Black alive, the CEO smiles, and finally, Blonde agrees to work with him. The exam is over. This wasn't a test of intelligence. It was a test of who you become under pressure. There was no right answer, only the right person. If you enjoyed this mind-bending story, like, subscribe, and stay with us, because the next story might test you.